Hello, students. I am actually recording from my car while my son is at gymnastics. So I think I have my camera off. Otherwise, I'm like down here. So sorry about that. We are going to work through Unit 2, Part 2. Let's see here. So this is the lesson where it is really helpful to have your screen resized and to have those graphing calculators and scientific calculators up. So let me remind you how to do that. I need to click and drag this over here. Okay. So let me resize, and this is going to be, if you go to desmos.com/calculator. Oh, come back here. What are you doing? Okay. All right. So Desmos calculator. Let's see that one. Okay. So this is going to be really helpful because we want to complete the table. So remember that you can type in your equation, y equals x shift 6 squared minus 6x plus 1. Okay, so that gives us our graph and some of the points from our table. But if you come up to the cogwheel, remember you can make that into a table. See, I have to move this. Let me hide that. Okay, so here I want my first number to be 1. And then my next number to be 2. And this is because of what I have over here on this side. That first number is a 1. And I'm just going to keep going down the list and adjust the whole thing. As I adjust, my y values adjust. Okay. We did this first semester with our input-output tables. So here I'm just going to put that -4, because if I do 1 squared minus 6 times 1 plus 1, I get -4 as the answer. Okay, same thing. If I put in 2, I get -7 as my answer. And then we get -8. And then we start to reverse. Because remember, with our parabola, we reach that low point. So we start here at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It starts to reverse back up because of the shape of our parabola. Okay, so that's my table of values. Now I'm going to graph these points. Now if I come down here, we are going to use the dot button to plot the ordered pairs and then use the parabola tool to graph the parabola. Click the vertex first and then click another dot that you plotted. Okay, so my dot tool, I'm just going to plot these points. 1, -4, so 1, -4, 2, -7, 3, -8, and then I'm going to reverse track a little bit here. Okay, should be close enough. Click the parabola tool, vertex, and another point on my parabola. Okay, and then we submit. So this is a great way to utilize your tools, or you can do your input-output. Put in 1 for x, get your output. Put in 2 for y, get your output. This is going to speed up the process for you though. Okay, so then we are going to go on to the next question, where we are going to use the graph. And if you click here, it makes this bigger for you so you can kind of see what's going on a little bit easier. Okay, so using the graph above, identify the x-intercepts where we cross the x-axis, the y-intercept or intercepts, and that's our vertical axis, and then our axis of symmetry. Where can we draw a line so our parabola is cut exactly in half? So I'm going to bring this up and I'm going to label some information here. We cross the we cross the x-axis here. Oh, yes, enable. Here and here. Those are my x-intercepts. Okay, so that's 0, 0, and 2, 0. My y-intercept, where we cross the y-axis, is also here at 0, 0. That will not always be the case. The only place where the x-intercept and y-intercept are the same is at the origin. Okay, and then our axis of symmetry, I can draw my line right down the middle here through x equals 1. So I have 0, 0, and 2, 0 for x-intercepts, 0, 0 for a y-intercept, and x equals 1 for my axis of symmetry. So let me clear this out, and I'm going to type here. We've got 0, 0 in parentheses, and then we had 2, 0, and then our y-intercept was also at 0, 0, and my axis of symmetry was at x equals 1. Now, you do need the x equals there. It will not mark that correct unless you have that as an equation. Remember, it's specifically asking for an equation, right? So then we submit, and we should be good to go. Okay. Here, identify the y-intercept, the x-intercepts, and the vertex. So let's do that over here. I'm going to type in my equation. Y equals x minus 5 times the quantity x minus 1. Okay, and then I can come over to my graph. If I click here on my y-axis, I see 0, 5 as my y-intercept. So 0, 5. My x-intercepts are here and here. If I click on those, it tells me I'm at 1, 0, and 5, 0. So 1, 0, 5, 0. My vertex, this bottom point, is at 3, negative 4. So I'm going to come over here, type 3, negative 4. And then my axis of symmetry, you'll notice if I draw that line down, it goes through my vertex x coordinate. So x equals 3. Now we are going to graph the vertex and one additional point using that parabola tool. So my vertex is at 3, negative 4. So right here. And another point on my line was 0, 5. Okay, and then I can submit. And there we go. Question 4, solve the following question. So now we're getting into our solving for x using our x and y intercepts. So this is where it would be helpful to have your scientific calculator, and that's that first one I have. Okay, so this tool here. Oops, go back. There we go. Make this a little bit bigger. There we go. All right, so we have x squared minus 121 equals 0. So what we mean by showing your work here is that we want you to do this first step of getting x squared by itself, since we just have x squared and no additional x's. So in this box, we want you to type that x squared equals 121. Okay. Now to actually solve this, I take that x squared equals 121, and I am going to take the square root of both sides. The square root of x squared is x, but when I square root 121, I can get a positive and a negative output, because I know that 121 equals 11 times 11, or negative 11 times negative 11. So I can get positive and negative 11 out of this function. So I have positive 11 and I have negative 11. Okay, so I can submit that, and there we go. Okay, next, quadratic formula. Remember, every quadratic formula has that same structure, or quadratic equation, I'm sorry. Quadratic equation has a standard structure of ax squared plus bx plus c. And when that is equal to 0, we can use the quadratic formula to solve for x. So what I need to do is identify my a value by what's in front of my x squared. Here that's going to be a 1. My b value by what is with my x, and my c value, the constant that is by itself. So I have 1, -2, and -8. So I'm going to come over here and put 1, -2, and -8. Now I'm going to use this up here. So I see the opposite of b. If my b is -2, what is the opposite of b? Well, we just changed the sign. Opposite of -2 is +2. So I'm going to put +2 there. In here, this is where I put my b squared minus 4 times a times c. So my b value is -2 squared minus 4 times my a value times my c value. A is 1, c is -8. So -2 squared, -2 times -2 is +4. So I have 4 minus 4, and then 1 times -8 is -8. -4 times -8 is +32. That gives me +36. So I have 2 +36, and then lastly, I have my 2a. That goes here. 2a, so 2 times 1 is 2. Okay, so let's put that in. We have 2, we have 36, and we have 2. Okay, so now we do some of the calculation. This stays 2. I'm going to leave that for now. This stays 2. But I do need to take the square root of 36. If you don't remember that 36 is 6 squared, okay, well, I need to resize this a little bit more. Okay, let's see. There it is, 6. The square root of 36 is 6. So in this box, I am going to type 6. Okay, so now we keep going. Here, I'm going to break this plus minus into 2 options. So option 1 is going to be 2 plus 6, and then divide by 2. And then option 2 is 2 minus 6, and then divide by 2. 2 plus 6 is 8, and then divide by 2 gives me 4. 2 minus 6 is -4, divided by 2 is -2. So my 2 solutions are 4 and -2. Okay, there we go. So break down the pieces step by step, you'll be fine. Okay, let's do the same thing here. We're going to identify our A, B, and C values. So I have 2, -18, and 35. Fairly big numbers, but that's okay. The opposite of B is the opposite of -18, which is +18. So that will go here. My discriminant, the b squared minus 4ac, we're going to put the negative 18 here, minus 4 times my a times my c. Well, my a is 2. My c is 35. All right, 18 squared is 324 minus, and let's do this over here, 4, or actually, if you remember one option, if you don't want to do this step by step, you can actually get the whole thing. Remember, you can put your b squared minus 4ac here, and then just go through and replace those numbers. So I know my b is negative 18, and I'm putting that in parentheses. My a is 2, and my c is 35. When I do that, I get 44. So I'm going to put 44 here. I'm going to put positive 18 here. And then my 2a, 2 times 2, equals 4. So I'll put that down here. All right, keep going. So my 18 stays the same. I need to take the square root of 44, and my 4 here stays the same. All right, square root of 44. Enter this, square root 44, and we get a decimal. That's okay. If a decimal, round to 4 decimal places or leave as a fraction. Okay, we're going to round to 4 decimal places. So 0, 7, 1, 3. Look to the 5th place to decide what to do. Do we keep the 3 or bump the 3? 0 through 4 to the right will tell me to keep. If it is 5 through 9, that tells me to bump this up. So I'm going to keep the 3. So I will type in 21.0713. 21. Oh, hold on. I took the square root of 444. What am I doing? Okay, square root of 44. 44. That's better. That makes more sense. So again, 6, 3, 3, 2, look to the right, and that is a 4. That is in that 0 to 4 range, so we keep the 2. 6.6332 makes a whole lot more sense to me. Okay. Come on. I click in there. Okay, there we go. 6. Gotta put that back. Oh my goodness. 44. Okay. 6.6332. There we go. I can type. And then that 4 is still there. So now we break this plus minus into our two options. Option 1 is 18 plus 6.6332, and then divide by 4. And then we have option 2, which is the 18 minus 6.6332, and then divide by 4. And I can do that here, again, 18 plus 6.332, and I need all of that in my denominator. So then I will hit the divide button. Okay. And then I'm going to put 4, and that gives me 6.083. 6.083. Okay. And then I come over here, and I'm just going to change this to a minus. Then I get 2.917. All right. So that's not 4 decimal places, but that's okay. I'll just type in what I have. So 6.083 and 2.917. Okay. clear that out before I hit submit. And it did not like those. Everything else is correct though. So this might be one of those where it really does want that 4th decimal place. So 6 point, oh, I know why, because I forgot the 6. There. 8417. 8417. And so then if I change that to a plus, you see these simple mistakes make all the difference in the world, don't they? 1583. Now let's try again. There we go. Now we got it. Okay. All right. Here we go. Question 7. Which of the following has no solutions? So here, if I solve for x squared, so x squared equals, I don't know, let's say a number. So let's say it equals n. All I have to do to solve for x is take the square root of both sides. So x equals plus or minus the square root of n. But what has to be true about n? What kind of numbers can we take the square root of? So can I take the square root of negative 38? I don't know. Let's check. Square root negative, oh, go away box, 38. Undefined. So that does not have a solution. So that is one of the things we need to select. Which of the following has no solution? So which ones are undefined? Well, what made that undefined? Because I don't want to go through and check all of these. You might be thinking, Mrs. Miller, it's negative. We cannot take the square root of a negative number. All right. Okay, so let's submit those. All right, you're right. None of those with negatives have a solution. So now my question to you is, why? Why is the square root of negative 169 undefined? So my big thing here, you can word this any way you want. But when we take the square root of a number, for example, if we take the square root of 144, I know that I can get plus or minus 12 because squaring a number means we do the number times itself. So 12 times 12 equals 144, and negative 12 times negative 12 equals 144. But to get a negative output, if I have negative x squared, can I take the square root of that? Because when I do that, to get a negative output, we have to do a positive number times a negative number. But then if I'm doing a positive times a negative, that's not squaring. So for example, if I do 12 times negative 12, that's negative 144, but that's not a number times itself. That's a number times its opposite. So however you can convey that to us, that squaring is a number times itself, we cannot square root a negative number because there is no possible way to multiply a number times itself and get a negative output. Okay, so that's really what we want you to convey there. And that is Unit 2, Part 2. Okay?